Welcome to the Week in Politics with Michelle Grattan. I'm Nick Klomp, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor here at the University of Canberra. Hi Michelle.
Hi Nick.
Well, we now have the results from that Super Saturday by-election.
At last.
Yes, that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. Labor's candidates and crossbencher Rebecca Sharkey all won their seats. So is it fair to say that the by-elections changed nothing?
At one level, but at another level, of course, they've changed a lot. A week ago, we were wondering about the implications for Bill Shorten's leadership. Now we're wondering about how much of a policy change the coalition will undertake, whether, for example, it will drop its company tax cuts for large corporations. I think that it has diminished Malcolm Turnbull's authority. It's emboldened Tony Abbott and other critics of the government's energy policy, and it's made the backbench more nervous, particularly those in Queensland, because of course in Longman we saw that big drop in the primary vote for the coalition.
Yeah, as you say, the company tax cuts appeared to be electoral poison in Longman, with Labor linking cuts for banks with the squeeze on health funds available. Well, do you think the government will drop these proposed company tax cuts?
I think that it'll go ahead with what it says it'll do and take them to the Senate. At least it'll assess whether it possibly could get them through the Senate. All the indications are that it can't. And then I think there is a lot of pressure to say, well, let's just put them off the agenda. And it's really not the company tax cut as such, but it is, as you mention, this Labor ability to link the banks, who are of course as popular as poison, and the fact that they would get a tax cut with alleged squeezes on areas like health. And that's what's so potent and so damaging for the government.
Meanwhile, the government's energy policy has also taken a buffeting this week. The Victorian Energy Minister warned that the state wouldn't rush into signing the plan for the National Energy Guarantee, the NEG, and Tony Abbott has once again condemned it. Are things looking dicey for this signature policy?
They're certainly looking worse than they were a couple of weeks ago when the state seemed on track to endorse the NEG. Now they're talking about conditions that they would want met before they actually signed up to the legislation to implement the mechanism. That's state legislation. Now the state and federal energy ministers will be meeting next Friday, and at the moment, and I stress at the moment because this is a very fluid situation, they seem to be talking about saying, yes, we'll progress the NEG, but we want these conditions met. Following that state and federal ministers meeting, the coalition parties will consider the situation on the Tuesday of the next week, and I think there'll be more criticism than there was last time there was a debate on this, because I think that it's not just Tony Abbott and his coterie of people, it's also some nationals who are pretty obsessed with coal, and others who may be becoming more nervous about this policy. So I think the Minister Josh Frydenberg will have quite a difficult time, both with the states and in the coalition party room.
So we'll know a lot more in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, that's right. And if all went well, of course, the government would hope to have it bedded down in a couple of weeks. But how well it'll go is still very much up in the air.
Right. And finally, Labor backbencher Emma Husar is in further trouble with more allegations about her questionable conduct reported this week. Where does her future stand for now?
I think her future is pretty bleak, frankly. The allegations continue to flow into the media. There's this inquiry by the New South Wales Party. I think the pressure is to wrap up that as quickly as possible. It's been going on for some months, so it should be finalised soon. And I can't see this ending other than the Labor Party saying, look, we don't think you're going to be an appropriate candidate for the next election. Remember, Lindsay is a very, very marginal seat. The Labor Party needs to win all the seats that it can, and that includes retaining the seats it already has. So it doesn't want to be going after marginal seats that are coalition seats and at the same time losing any of its own. So I think there'll be a lot of pressure to get a new, more acceptable candidate for the election.
That's politics. Michelle, thank you again.
Thanks, Nick.